Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Hot Girls and Hockey podcast. My name is Sarah. If you're new here to the show, this is where we talk about all things hockey, the what-to-knows, the who-to-knows, and everything in between. Oh my God. I am a little frustrated because I filmed this episode yesterday. I filmed for like 40 minutes and all just to find out that my microphone was on mute the entire time. So that was great. And I am now having to film, edit, and upload same day, day before actually uploading or like officially having the episode out. So, a little stressed on that, a little frustrated on that, but you know what? It's fine. It's fine. So yeah, welcome back to the show, or welcome to the show if you're new. A lot's happened since the last time we talked. If you don't remember from my last episode, I had filmed it before Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals and mentioned how I wanted there to be a Game 7 because I wanted to throw a Game 7 party. But Florida said, fuck your plan, Sarah. We're just going to win in Game 6. And they did. They are now back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, which... feel however you want to feel about that. I personally have been rooting for them since the beginning. You can literally look at my bracket from the very beginning. Most of the teams I got on there wrong. Like, I thought it was going to come down to the Jets and the Panthers, but it came down to the Oilers and the Panthers. And at one point I was like convinced that Dallas was going to win, but in the back of my head I was like, Florida's probably going to do like a two-peat, whatever that term is. And they did. So congrats to them. My Pookie Matthew got to lift up that that's huge, that big old fucking cup again. And it was beautiful to watch. It was really anticlimactic because I was just watching it by myself and I'm just like, yay, they won. I'm like, oh, this would have been way more fun if I threw a party, but you know what, there's always next year. Speaking of the finals, I feel that I do owe someone an apology. I owe an apology to Brad Marchand, or Marchand. I say Marchand, I'm pretty sure it's Marchand, whatever. I owe an apology to that man because I said that I didn't want, like, I can't remember if I said I didn't want anything good to happen to him or if I just didn't want to see him win another cup, but he's grown on me. Him and his little Dairy Queen uniform has grown on me. And man, they're just on so many side quests. Those Panthers are like taking the cup everywhere. They dented it, or no, they didn't dent it. They cracked it. They made a crack in it, and it's kind of like a crack in your windshield where every single time that I see it, it's just getting bigger. But what can you do? Boys will be boys. But yeah, so congrats to the Florida Panthers. Sorry to Brad Marchand. And I think that's it for like any updates. If I'm not mistaken, this weekend is the draft. I'm filming this on what's today's date? Yeah, I'm filming this today on June 23rd, 2025. The draft is on June 27th, so it's on Friday, this upcoming Friday. So fingers crossed that the Sharks get Michael Misa because we need good defensemen badly. Not that we don't have good ones now, but we it wouldn't hurt to have another good one. But yeah, so today's episode has been voted on by you guys, the listeners, watchers, whatever you want to call yourselves. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, when I say like it was voted by you guys, if you go onto my Instagram, which is at SarahXCrake, I sometimes put up polls with 4 different video topics, and I'll usually take just like the top 3, and then I'll pick whichever one has the most votes as the next episode, and then whoever has most after that is the one after it, and so on and so forth. So I put up a poll with 4 topics. I did one which was a team deep dive on the Florida Panthers, one that was a player profile on Sidney Crosby, another which was blind building my own hockey team using the little magnets that I have, and then the last one was ranking hockey fights. And no surprise there, ranking hockey fights won. So that will be the topic for today's episode. This one was a very, very fun episode to do research on, because I just had to watch like fight compilations and just go and look at like top 10 lists from other people who've already like ranked hockey fights. So it was really fun. Man, I love hockey. I don't know what I'm going to do in this off season between now and when the preseason games start in September, and then when the actual regular season starts in October. But we'll survive. We'll make it in there. Someone did ask me like, what are you going to talk about now that it's the off season? I'm like, fine, dude. You guys can tell me. But yeah, so that will be today's episode, is the ranking hockey fights. Next week will be I believe next week is blind building my own hockey team, and then the one after that will be the team deep dive on the Florida Panthers. Sidney Crosby got no votes, so who knows what I'm gonna do his, but maybe it'll be after the team deep dive, even though he didn't get any votes. Okay, so let's get into today's episode. I do have my non-branded black cherry seltzer in my little Sharks cup, so go ahead and grab a little drinky drink, grab a little snack, whatever floats your boat, and let's just get into it. Cheers. Okay, so a couple of things I want to say before I get into the meat and bones of today's episode is I just want to give a couple of disclaimers. One, I'm only doing fights from the NHL. I know there's so many leagues that have really good ones, the beer leagues, the OHL, the AHL, the PWHL, whatever. If I had to go through and watch every single league's hockey fights, it would have taken me like a month probably to get through it. So I just went through and I looked up all like the best NHL team fights or NHL player fights. So I'm narrowing it down, keeping it there. Maybe if there's demand for it, I can do other leagues. But for this episode, at least, it's just going to be the NHL. So that's one disclaimer. And disclaimer number 2 is that these, and I feel like it goes without saying, are my opinions. And the best thing about opinions is that I'm allowed to have them. And another good thing about them is that you are allowed to have your opinions, and your opinions can agree with mine or they can disagree with mine. So if you think that a fight should have been on here that's not, or if you think that one should have been ranked higher than the other, well, let me know in the comments, or you can, message me on TikTok or Instagram, whatever floats your boat, whatever. If you really feel the need to get your opinion out to me, there's many resources. So don't be mean, okay? Because these are literally just my opinions. And, like I said before, I'm allowed to have them. So get that out of the way. Those are the 2 real disclaimers that I wanted to make. And then the other things I wanted to say were, I only picked 10 fights because I feel like 10 is a good round number. And I did try to kind of get them across the board, decades wise. The earliest one I have on here though is 1987. So if there are ones from before that, that you can think of that were iconic, definitely let me know. It was just harder to find video footage of a ton of fights from back then. What home like video recording, whatever, I don't think was as popular back then as it is now. Or even if it was a thing, I'm not knowledgeable on when all that started. But yeah, so I tried to get some from almost every decade, but there's like one from the 80s, there's I think like 1 or 2 from the 90s, 2000s, 2010s. Yeah. So I tried to get like a good like range of them. Also, I will be going and telling you not only the teams and the players involved, but who I personally thought was the winner of each fight. And again, these are my opinions. If you think that I should have said that one person should have won than the other, let me know. And I'll be like, cool, sick. Glad that you have your opinion. Okay, so with all that out of the way, let's get into today's episode. So I'm going to start with number 10, which I'm already gonna know is gonna be like, why did you rank this one in number 10? It's because I did, and I don't feel like I need to explain it to you. And that's not to say that these ones in the lower bracket, like below, like 5 and below, are bad in any sense. These are some of the best fights that I saw. I just ranked some of the best fights. Got it? Get it? Good. So what I have at number 10 is a fight from 2004, and it is an all-out team brawl between the Philadelphia Flyers and the Ottawa Senators. This whole like all-out kind of shebang started with two players, one named Donald Brashear. I'm gonna say Brashear. Donald Brashear from the Flyers, and then Rob Ray from the Senators, and they started scuffling, which pretty much domino affected, and just led to a full bench clearing fight where, like, it really involved almost every guy on the ice and just every guy on the team. It was very interesting to watch because it's kind of like you don't know what to look at because there's so much going on. It was one of the most iconic fights in NHL history. It involved, like I said, almost every player, and resulted in 419 penalty minutes, which is crazy. It is available on YouTube to watch if you'd like. Oh, that's another thing I wanted to say. I don't want to be sued by the NHL. That is not on my list of things that I want to accomplish in my life. So I will not be putting video footage in this episode. I will be putting little screenshots of the video thumbnails, and in the description for all my YouTube episode viewers, watchers, they will be in the description. I'll have them all, like, this is number 10, this is number 7, whatever. And for my Spotify listeners, if you want to come over to YouTube and click on those links and see the fights, you're obviously more than welcome to do that as well. But that is what I have for number 10, is the all-out brawl between the Philadelphia Flyers and the Ottawa Senators back in 2004. And so now who I have at number 9 is a fight from 2014, which is another kind of all-out brawl, but not really. This one is a line brawl that was between the Calgary Flames and the Vancouver Canucks. What this means pretty much is just it didn't involve like players flying off the benches and coming at each other. It really was just the guys on the ice and like the lines that they had out at that moment. It was a line brawl that happened. It was one of those things that happened like only 2 seconds into the game. Like you could see the players chirping at each other like right before the puck drop, and you could kind of tell, all right, there's already some tension. I fear that this might just start with a big line brawl, and it did. And there's nothing really notable from it other than just it did give very much Four Nations vibes, how there was like the 3 fights in the first 9 seconds, but this one was like 5 fights in the first 2 seconds, and it was, like I said, back in 2014. So very fun, very entertaining, not really too much to go onto it, but it was a very entertaining fight to watch. Oh my gosh, I already messed up. I didn't even say who I thought won in those last 2 fights. To be fair, I think both teams did really good. So with those last 2, with number 10 and 9, in my opinion, there was no like definitive winner. I think both teams won because they both gave their all in those fights. But from now on, I will remember to say who won. I do have it in my notes, I promise. I just forgot to say it for the last 2. So for number 8, I have a fight from back in 2009 involving 2 players, one named Jamal Myers from the Toronto Maple Leafs and another named Andrew Alberts from the Philadelphia Flyers. And what this fight really started with was when Myers kind of body checked Alberts into the boards, and it just like that happened, and then like a millisecond later they're on each other. Like it's crazy. And Myers laid out Albert, like he laid him out on the ice. It was very fast, not gonna lie. So in this instance, I have to say that Myers won. They both, put up a really good fight. They landed some really good punches, but I think laying out a guy on the ice kind of proves that you pretty much won. At number 7, I have a fight back in 1997, coincidentally, and it is between two players, Marty McSorley from the San Jose Sharks mentioned, and a guy named Steve McKenna from the LA Kings. So in this game, they actually fought twice, but I'm only going to talk about this first fight because the second fight literally lasted like 10 seconds. But this first one lasted almost 2 minutes. It started like all fights do with some chirping, and then gloves came off and fists went flying. And Marty McSorley is a player that I saw on so many lists and compilations. He was like the number 1 Sharks player that I saw. Which, I never saw the man play. I don't think he's a current player. He's obviously not on the Sharks anymore if he is a current player, but he was very entertaining to watch fight in all the fights I did see him in the compilation. And in this one in particular, I do believe that he was the winner. He landed some really solid shots on McKenna, and I don't know, he just packed more of a punch, in my opinion. So that's what I have for number 7. For number 6, I have a fight from back in 2019 between Nick Seeler from the Minnesota Wild and, I'm really going to mess up this name. I'm so sorry, dude. Radek Fuchsa from the Dallas Stars. So this fight really was for the fans, truly, because this happened on Fan Appreciation Night at the arena that it was at. I'm pretty sure it was in Minnesota. It was at the arena, but I don't quote me on that. Regardless, it really was a treat for the fans that night because this fight was so fun to watch. Like the video of their helmets just fly off their heads immediately, and it was like just a very entertaining fight. It wasn't like what's the word I'm trying to look for, like destructive. I don't think that's the right word, but you know what I mean. Like, it was a fight to entertain the masses, and that it did. And in this fight, I do believe that the Fuchsa, I really hope I'm saying that last name right, from Dallas, I think that he was the clear winner in that fight, just because he was really on top of Seeler a lot, and he landed more hits than Seeler did. So that is the fight that I have at number 6. Now we're in the top 5, baby. At number 5, I have a fight from back in 2016. This is between a guy named Clayton Stoner from the Anaheim Ducks and Michael Lada, I think that's how you say your last name, from the Washington Capitals. So one thing I have in my notes is that Lada has a mean right hook. Like, he was like watching it so crisp and clean with his punches, especially his right hooks, and he ended up punching Stoner in the jaw and was able to just keep rallying and keep going. Which, I don't know about you, I've never punched anyone, and hopefully I won't ever have to, but I've been told that the jaw is one of the hardest. If you're punching someone, it is the hardest on your hand and it hurts. And so the fact that he landed one on Stoner's jaw and then just kept going really proved to me that he was the clear winner in this fight. I also do just want to give a special note about how dramatic their glove drop was in this fight. With all these fights and with any hockey fight, the term glove drop or dropping the gloves is used a lot, and it's literally it means literally just what it sounds like. They drop their gloves. They can't land solid punches when they have those thick gloves on, so they literally drop their gloves. That way they have their bare fists and they can punch. And so with this fight in particular, it was just so Like, you need to go watch it to really believe it. It was just so they're like, ugh. And then just fist went flying. It was almost like putting on a performance. It could be considered art, one could say, or argue. But yeah, so that's what I have as the number 5. Oh man, we're really getting into the nitty gritty. I'm so excited to talk about these top 2, the top 2 fights. But let's get through 4 and 3 first. So at number 4, I do have a fight from 2003, and it was between Scott Hartnell from the Nashville Predators and Rob DeMao from the Dallas Stars. This fight was not a super long fight. It only lasted about maybe like 24-30 seconds. But what made it such a memorable one for me was that from both sides, the punches were powerful. Each one just landed like perfectly, and they had so much behind them from each player. It wasn't like how one might have more energy than the other, more strength than the other. It was like equal playing field coming at each other, and it was just very fun to watch. Hartnell's sweater was literally like pushed over his head, so at one point he just kind of looked like a kid with his head stuck in his shirt, which is super funny. And in this fight, I do believe, even though I said that they both had such powerful punches against each other, Hartnell did get in more hits on DeMao than DeMao got on Hartnell. But regardless, it was a really good fight. I do believe that Hartnell was the clear winner. Take it up with the wall, or whatever that quote is, if you don't agree with me. So that is the number 4 fight. Number 3 is a fight from 1987. This is the oldest fight that I have on this list. I believe it's the oldest fight. Let me double check, actually. Yes, it is the oldest fight that I have on this list. And it's between Craig Cox from the Vancouver Canucks and Bob Probert from the Detroit Red Wings. Oh my gosh. What a fight. What a fight. This was also not a super long fight, but what was notable about it for me was how Probert just got Cox in a chokehold and was just wailing on him, like just fucking going for it. And for that reason alone, Probert is my winner. No notes, short and sweet. All right, guys, it's time for the top 2. So what you need to know about me is I love a good performance. I am for the arts. I actually have an Associate of Arts degree from a community college, in case you wanted to know that. And I love entertainment. I love to be entertained. And one part of hockey that is very entertaining is obviously fights. But more entertaining, to me at least, are goalie fights. Because if you're ever with me watching a game, either it's in person or just watching one on TV, I will always make comments about how large the goalies are, like in terms of just like in front of like the goal, and how fascinating I find all their padding and just their role in the team is, and the whole like, you don't touch the goalie and goalies are weird. Like, it's just so much lore behind goalies, and I just love it. Would not ever be a goalie if I was playing on a team. I did mention that in my last episode. I would be a very happy bench warmer, but I love the goalies, and I love a good goalie fight. And that is exactly why I put arguably the best goalie fight at the number 2 spot, between Patrick Roy from the Colorado Avalanche and Chris Osgood from the Detroit Red Wings. This was a fight that was done back in 1998 during a game between the two teams. And some lore you need to know behind these two teams is in the late 90s / early 2000s, the Avalanche and the Red Wings had a pretty strong rivalry. I don't think it's super strong today, but at this point when this fight happened, it was like the heat, or like the peak of it. So you're watching it, and there's already fights breaking out between players on the ice, and there's, you know, the refs kind of like moderating them, making sure that if they go down to the ice, they break up, yada, yada, yada. But then you pan over and you just see the goalies dropping gloves and just going for it and just start fighting. And what was really funny watching this fight and just like any goalie fights is that, you know, in the movie Forrest Gump, if you've seen it, the scene, it's like towards the beginning where, you know, Forrest has those leg braces on to help him walk or like learn how to walk better. And him and Jenny are walking home from school, and those boys on those bikes start like throwing rocks at them and start trying to chase Forrest and like beat him up. And then as Forrest is like running, he has like the hardware from his leg braces just start falling off as he's like going, and it's just like slow motion, and like each piece and every bolt is just like it flies off like in slow motion one by one. That is the same vibe as a goalie fight because they have so much padding on them. Obviously they're having pucks flying at them like 80-90 miles an hour, and as they're fighting, each individual piece you can see just starts coming off. And like I said, it's so just like an art piece. It's just like, I don't even know how to describe it, but it was a really, really good fight, and they were laying some very strong punches on them. And from this fight, I do declare Patrick Roy being the winner. But you know what? They're both winners in my head. I just think in this instance, he landed some more punches on Osgood than Osgood landed on him. And oh God, I just love a good goalie fight, man. They're just so much fun. And now, the moment that we've all been waiting for. My number one fight. I don't think too many people will disagree with me with the fight that I have as number one. Mostly because from all my research and what I've seen is that this is deemed one of, if not the best fight in the NHL. It is from 1992. And it is between our man Bob Probert from the Detroit Red Wings. Remember, I mentioned him earlier in this list. And Ty Domi from the New York Rangers. Now, any seasoned hockey fan will hear those two names, and they would have clocked this back when I talked about Probert before. But especially with Ty Domi, these guys have some of the highest stats, or like the highest stats of how many fights they got in their career. I believe Ty Domi, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, has the record for the most amount of fights in an NHL career. I think it was like over 400, and I think Bob Probert was over like 300. All this to say, these men were known for fighting, and just from that alone, you know it's going to be a really good one. So it wasn't a super, super long fight. It only lasted maybe a little over a minute, but it was just from start to finish, like your quintessential best. Like if you were to describe like your perfect hockey fight to watch, it was this one. It started off with the chirping on the ice, and you could see things were getting heated. And then eventually really, really solid glove drop, and then solid punches on each other. And in my notes, I literally have, they were fighting. Like there was real emotion, I assume, behind this fight, and I don't even know how to describe it properly without showing you. And I so wish that I could show this in like my video version, but again, don't really want to be sued by the NHL, so I obviously will have this in that description in the bottom of this episode. Both men put up a really good fight. Solid hits, they rallied, and it was so beautiful and gorgeous. I do have to say, my man Bob Probert was, in my opinion, the winner again. I don't know, man. There's just something about the way he punches. He punches like he means it. And that's all you can really ask from your resident goon or your resident fighter on your team. Man, that was fun. That was my top 10 ranked NHL hockey fights of all time. And like I said before, if you have ones that you thought should have been on here that aren't, leave them in the comments below. I'll go ahead and check them out if I hadn't already watched them. And let me know which ones were your favorites from this list if you go and you watch them after this. Like I mentioned before, next week's episode will be blind building my own hockey team using my little hockey magnets that I have. And then after that, it's going to be the Florida Panthers team deep dive. I don't think there's anything else really to go over in this episode. So I hope you enjoyed listening to me talk about hockey fights. If you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. That does help out a lot. And if you are listening to this on Spotify, please make sure to give the show a good rating. If you would like, you can always follow me on Instagram. It's at Sarah X Craik. That's where I usually post, like I said, my polls for ideas for episodes. So if you want to have a say in it, go and vote on there. And you can also follow, while you're at it, my TikTok account, which is at HGLHpod. Hot Girls Learn Hockey, the acronym, and then pod, as in like the first part of podcast. I love all of you guys so much. I appreciate every single one of you who supports me and supports the show. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!